Hey there, who that's? Amazing game today. Quite surprised that we actually got a win out of it. I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a lot more than what we saw the last 7 weeks. Um, and honestly, that was. I mean, that's a little. It was a real low bar we had to meet as far as expectations were concerned. But I mean, honestly, I was pleasantly surprised. Let's start with Darren Rizzi. Um, he was emphatic in his press conference on Monday after everything went down. Um, he was going to bring passion and fight back to this team, and very early in the game, I think it was the first drive. In fact, I know it was the first drive because it was on the fourth down that we went for. We didn't pick up deep in the red zone, and the camera happened to be on right when we did the down went to fourth, and he is sprinting down the sideline, which found out later was he was making sure Kubiak knew that they were going to go for it. And that sprint down the sideline to get in Kubiak, get next to Kubiak was more activity I've seen from our head coach in 30 seconds than it felt like we've seen in 2 years. And that energy, that passion, that fight, that was, I mean, it was all over the team. You could see it all over the field, especially compared to what we were seeing. Man, the last weeks were just so horrible by comparison because this was still a flawed game. We still did not play a good football game, but we won it. And it was a one score game with a lot of things not going our way, especially in the second half. We started out hot. We kind of planed off, but took a 10-point lead into halftime at 17-7, and you win the game 2017. You were holding on for dear life, but you held on and you won. And I mean, I think I made the comment in one of the videos during the week that we had kind of developed a loser mentality, and it seemed to boom, go away like that. And to me, that's the most important takeaway that I have from this game is, um, look, you can't prove a negative. I can't prove what I'm about to say is true, but I believe it in my heart, in my opinion, 1000%. This Da was the head coach instead of Darren Rizzi. This game plays out like it did. We give up a touchdown in the waning seconds of the game and end up losing. And Honey Badger in his post game comments said basically the same thing. We lose this game last 3 or 4 weeks, but you didn't. You won. You won a game where Atlanta outgained you in total yards, outrushed you, and I think it might have even been 2-1. I want to say it was somewhere around like 180 to 90. They had time of possession. Um, even in individual plays, because one of the things I went back and looked at, and I'm charting, the big plays 10 plus yards, 20 plus yards, 40 plus yards. They had more of them, but we had more in this game than I think we've had the last couple of weeks combined, and it kept us in there. And we had two, which you would probably consider an explosive play, going 40 plus. One of them was a touchdown, and the other one led to the touchdown we scored 2 plays later. And that's what teams were doing to us early on in this streak. It's what Philly did to us. It's what Atlanta did to us. Carolina last week. It was a reverse of fortune of the Carolina game because last week in Carolina we outgained and we had time of possession. You know, we don't need to relive it. We all know statistically there was no reason for them to be in that game, and yet they won it. Kind of the same thing we did to Atlanta today. And of all teams to do it to, we did it to the Dirty Birds, which makes it that much more special. Um, Real quick, just kind of flipping through some stuff. My God, we are suddenly somewhere developed a pass rush, and I'm interested to see. I started kind of, you know, following the post game comments. I didn't see anything, but I didn't get a chance to get all the way through. But I'm wondering if we changed something differently on that defensive front, different from what I know. Joe Wood was, play calling, and he was doing some things differently. But Turner, Where have you been, Peyton Turner? Um, I know one game does not erase all the not so good stuff you've managed to stack up on your resume, but let's be honest and fair. You played a hell of a game today, especially in the first half, and came up with a crucial sack and a forced fumble that they recovered, but killed the drive and ended up having to settle for a blocked field goal because I believe that's the one that Ridgeway blocked. Cam got his first sack of the year. Late in the game, when you were hanging on by a thread, we finally made a play when Chase Young had a strip sack and put them so far back in field position with no time left. They had to burn their last time out, and we ended up getting out of there, getting a couple stops over the next two plays and getting out of there with a win. And oh, let's not forget Honey Badger, who, again, to be fair, we had a little, wasn't as bad as it has been, a little missed tackle issue, and he had a couple of them, one of them on Bijan Robinson's long touchdown run. But I can't even get upset for him because that interception was so crucial. I think that interception that let the air out of the tires on that Atlanta offense had been running up and down the field because we get the ball back. Thank God we won the game because Alvin, what he's been doing the past few weeks, and as he said I think he said post game that was the lamest thing he ever did on a football field was dropping that short touchdown that would have iced the game. So Honey Badger comes back, gets the pick. That play happens. They get the ball back, and we stop them. The Chase Young play happens a few plays into that drive. Totally flips everything around. We come out of there with a win. The only mentioned Ridgeway's blocked field goal. Only bad takeaways that I have from the defense overall, like I said, some stupid penalties, some missed tackles, things here and there, but not as bad and not nearly as many as we had been seeing for weeks and weeks. At least some of that stuff starting to get cleaned up, and I'm hoping that's trending in the right direction and we clean up the rest of it through the end of the season. But the only two bits of bad news is Pete Werner left the game, didn't come back with a hand injury, and Howden left the game with a shoulder injury and didn't return. And still, two kind of key pieces on what you were trying to do left the game. Howden was earlier in the game. Werner was in over the last couple of drives, and Willie Gay popped right in because I don't know how many, maybe two the last drive. He played every play, and he was solid. I looked at because I was like, man, we had to have our pass defense both in the backfield and at the line of scrimmage batting down balls. Looked at it. We had 9 pass breakups, and 3 of those were at the line of scrimmage, 6 tackles for loss on the game. That's the kind of defense we were expecting to see. And it took making the special teams coordinator interim and apparently giving some more authority, well, pretty much all the authority in handling the defense to the defensive coordinator that by name only up until today. And I saw improvements. It wasn't always pretty, wasn't always beautiful. It was a flawed game, but we did what we needed to do to win it. And that type of attitude, that fight, that passion that Rizzi was talking about needs to come back in here. Cannot say enough about MVS. That was, 3 catches, back-to-back series that without him, we're getting run out the building. And we had our offense going early with the run. The Atlanta kind of shut that down. We open up the passing game. He makes those big catches for us. We get 14 of our 20 out of it. Raheem Morris at halftime, they interviewed him, and he said, we're putting A.J. Terrell on, and we're taking MVS out the game, which is what they basically did. And our offense kind of struggled after that. But hats off because Northern had made a comment during the week about having a big advantage. And it's like, I don't know about a big advantage. And because one of the things I'm thinking is like there was a few spots on the field. It's like, I don't know if anybody can step up and make plays, and we're going to need them to do it. And wide receiver was the biggest one. Corner was another one just because we're getting so thin there. And MVS and Austin, Kevin Austin Jr. made 2 critical catches we needed in that game. Our tight ends, Juwan Johnson had a catch. I was a little disappointed. Carr and Moreau were having a little trouble on a couple of plays that were looking good. But, going to happen. I think it's probably going to take them a little more to get back in the swing. Carr looked a little better for large chunks of the game than he did last week. So, um, and I don't know if he's still back 100%, but definitely getting in the flow a little better. So, even the blocking at times was really good. At times, really not good. But the sum total of it, we didn't give up a sack. We gave up some pressures, and it got us in trouble sometimes. But we didn't give up a sack. We didn't commit a turnover. We were +1 on the turnover margin. The These are the things I want to see is a vast improvement from 7 games, the course of 7 games to 1. We saw that today. I want to keep seeing players get better. I want to keep seeing what I saw today, that they look like there were some guys out there on both sides of the ball that were playing for their NFL future, or at least for the Saints. Amada cannot he he may have played the best overall defensive game for any of us coming out of that slot corner. Led the team in tackles. I think he led the team in tackles for losses. Also, he had to stop at the end of the game that stopped him from converting on 4th down on the check down. Did it? You know, too many times we've seen teams do that exact same thing where the guy comes flying up, miss the tackle, convert the first down, whatever, gets out of bounds, stop the clock, whatever. Nah, he shut that play down, and when he shut the play down, the game was over. So big hat tip to him, to a guy who looks like, I've got an opportunity here. Let me go make the most of it. I want to see more of that, especially from those younger guys, or in his case, a guy who's been around the league a little bit, showed up here, and man, you play like that through the rest of the season, somebody might decide, hey, yeah, we need to keep you around on the team. And I think the difference in the game is the big plays, even though he gave up a lot, and that's another one of the knocks on the defense. Thought we made enough to win the game, especially early, because we put them behind the 8 ball and down in a hole, you know, 10-point lead going into half at home. You kind of like that, especially when you realize, holy crap, our defense is starting to look like the defense we were expecting to see most of the year. So it's pretty much all I got on that game. Individually, like I said, there were some really good efforts out there, and at times there were some good efforts that didn't always. I mean, maybe not 4 quarters, but I feel like there were times where players were stepping up when they had to make a play or make a block or make a tackle or whatever needed to be done. Yep. Uh, Fergus has just joined us, so I guess we're ready to go to see what you guys have to say. Yeah, you. I don't know. Northern. I think I'm just gonna tell you you're gonna handle the predictions part of this stuff, because, like I said, I didn't think we'd win that game. I thought we'd play better. We had to play better again. Couldn't play worse. I don't see how after last week. Um, so yeah, 8-2. Good job. Keep it rolling. We'll get you fired up next season. Hopefully, we can get you making some predictions on our Super Bowl odds come beginning of 2025. That'll hit. Um, Earmuffs for anybody under 18. That was a bullshit call. Even Greg Olson, who doesn't get much of anything right, and is about the blandest guy in the world, even seemed to get a little aggravated that they called. I think it was Austin they called it on, but that was horrible. That there was a couple of phantom calls in that game. One of the things I didn't mention that I didn't like is we had 8 penalties, but that one, I'm trying to think. There was another one. One of Taylor might have been the last one when he got flagged for like a defensive hold or something. And again, Olsen's like, I don't know if there's that much there. Yeah, I thought we horribly got hosed on both those calls. Yeah, nobody. Uh, honestly, in that situation, I think it was 3rd and 4, somewhere around there. And we dropped back, and like instantly it was looking like, oh shit, he's looking deep, and he threw it deep, and I'm like, oh no. And then when the camera catches up with the ball, Caden Ellis is hopeless. No way he's keeping up with Alvin. Alvin's got what, 10 yards on him, it seemed like. And the ball's coming in right there. And I'm like, oh my God, we got a touchdown. And then you see it rolling on the ground. And yeah, I ran the whole gamut of emotions in the span of 5 seconds from when I realized what they were doing. to when the ball left, to when Alvin seemingly was going to house it to ice the game, to when he dropped, and thinking, "Oh crap, we got to ask the defense to bail us out one more time," and they did. I thought Rizzi did very well also. Probably going to take some heat on, and I'll be honest with you. This is my thinking, analytically or any other measurement or whatever. This was just pure off emotion. But he's probably going to take some heat from not taking the field goal early, on that first drive. You drive it down. You normally want points. You're at home. I would be on board with that normally, but I'm thinking, no, go for it, because that aggressive fighting spirit, that this team seemed to be missing, that we had on that drive. And I was like, man, if we could just get it to pay off, and and let's see if our defense is going to keep stepping up. And they did. So I believe that was it was first drive. So I was say Atlanta was getting ball for second time deep in their own hole. They didn't do anything with it. So didn't really hurt us. I did see post game. He said that he had pretty much decided, along with that aggressiveness, fourth and once he crossed the 50, I think he said, or maybe it was their 40, but somewhere in that area, he decided fourth and 3 or less, we're going for it. So I applaud the effort. I normally wouldn't, but I think this is a special case of everything going on. And I think he set the tone to the whole team. I want to bring fight and passion. He's passion on the sideline. We're going to fight right there. This fourth and 3, we're going for it. We're going to score a touchdown. We're not settling for a field goal. We're going to play this game like we've got big balls. And I felt like there's a lot of guys I thought had been neutered over the last 6 or 7 weeks that all of a sudden, no, not anymore. They were out there swinging, what, and amazing that our former head coach couldn't get that out of those guys, or not enough of it, or keep it going, or whatever the case may have been. So yeah, I agree. And look, it's the freaking Dirty Birds, and I don't care what the situation is. I want to beat Atlanta every time we play them. I prefer to blow them out every time we play them, but you can't always get what you want, right? But I'll settle for a win anytime we line up against Atlanta. And okay, Koo missing 3 is a story, because the guy he doesn't really miss. He's one of the better kickers in the league. Koo missing a field goal against the Saints, because I swear I don't remember him missing any before today. And then he technically missed 2. Ridgeway got the block, but still it goes down to 3 misses for him. You could have given me any kind of odds you wanted, a trillion to one, and I'd have said, no, I'm not going to lose $1. I wouldn't even bet $1 on it, because it's giving $1 away, because that guy never misses, and he damn sure never misses against us. Excuse me a sec. So yeah, that might have been the most unbelievable thing in the whole game. And speaking of like I'm saying, kind of a wasn't a clean game. It was very dirty. 2 for 3. It's a different outcome. Hey, Big Valley. You know, I told myself this is Atlanta, so I can tell myself all I want. I'm not going to get overly worked up about this game. Okay, we're in the situation we're in. We should be better off. We're at home. Just the coaching change alone has revitalized the fan base. It was a trap game for Atlanta, and look, to be honest with you, the way they came out in the first quarter, there might have been a little bit to that being a trap game. So I was just gonna whatever happened, happened, and that crap went out the window early in the game. Second drive, maybe, or something. It was a normal game where I wanted to win. I mean, I wanted to win. Wanted to win by as much as we could. I wanted to blow them out, and for a half there, it was like looking like that could happen, and that's a really good football team. So yeah, my blood pressure by the end, it was a normal Saints, I shouldn't say normal Saints game. It was how I was normally feeling when we had chances to win games, not like the last few weeks. My blood pressure was boiling for a completely different reason on those, but this was a, I agree, man. My blood pressure too was just like, and especially again the drop by Alvin, and I'm like, I did not want another, especially to Atlanta, especially for the second time to Atlanta in the same season, want some stupid late second bullshit to happen where we lose the game. And then when we did what we used to be able to do back in the day before this culture rot or whatever you want to call it started hitting us the last few years, we were like our old selves. Defense just went, no, bam, stop, big play by Chase Young. Open field tackle ends the game. Everybody go home. Hooray. Saints win. That's what I want to see. I was glad to see it today. That's an interesting. I'm sure y'all saw Carolina beat the Giants today. So but talk about. I told you, man, for a while there we were get right team, so we got them right. So they're on a 2-game winning streak now. Um, but since that happened, in what we did today, going, I felt like there was going to be 2 or 3 losses. Wins possible, no more than 3, but probably you're gonna sneak into 2. Didn't think Atlanta was gonna be one of them. I'm still kinda on that 2 to 3, but now since we pulled the upset here, um, yeah, I'm thinking you got a couple more in there, and I'm trying to think of what our dismal record is right now, 3 and 7, 6 wins, 5, 6. I don't know if we can get 7 looking at the schedule, but you never know. Kind of depends on what the teams we're really. The Redskins are only probably the truly really good team left on our schedule. The Rams are pretty good, and they play tomorrow night. I don't know what their health situation is. They were getting bodies back, but I don't know if they're getting everybody back or what kind of status they're in. But when their offense is healthy, Jesus, we never seem to know how to stop them from scoring points on us. So those 2 I kinda have losses, but everything else after today, I'm kinda feeling is more of a toss-up than it was this time last week when I was thinking, "Shit, no, they're all gonna be losses at the rate we were going." Um, yeah, I talked about the TD, and Kamara's drop, 3 sacks, yep. Like I said, the last one, I'm pretty sure was complete and utter bullshit, so got 2 of them, but then again, he's not in the easiest position here going back to the outside after being an outside corner, moving to the inside last year, struggling at it, figured it out, was awesome in the inside this year. Now he's going back outside. So um, need a little more time to figure it out. And think about it. Drake London, Pitts, Mooney. Do not forget about Ray McLeod. Atlanta's got some guys that go down. I mean, you saw some of the catches they made today in some of the. In fact, I kind of felt sorry for Taylor. There was 2 of them. One of them was a deep ball by Mooney that got them near the goal line. But the coverage was pretty good, and it was just insane that some of the catches they were making. Pitts had another one up the sideline. I think that was his second catch on the day. That was just insanely stupid. So yes, he did. He'll probably never miss another one against the Saints till the end of time. But he missed 3 today, and we needed all 3 of them to be misses. Yeah, I pretty much. But again, like I said, I think going for it right there. This I mean, you want to win. Yeah. I wish I had the soundbite. You play to win the game, right? You play to win the game. But this was also like a bigger message needed to be sent. And they had been sending it all week, but that's kind of like when, Rizzi's going, I trust you guys. We're going to be aggressive and we're going to go kick these guys' ass. Hey, we're going for it right here. As opposed to the passiveness the DA tended to have. Now you got to go, no, 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 no. We're going to fight and we're going to take this game. Look, there are the Dirty Birds, and I hate saying nice things about them, but they're a good football team, and they're a better football team than we are. But who cares? We beat them. Um, we needed some depth in there and a guy that was, supposedly going to help us with the run. He kind of was supposed to be that guy, hadn't really worked out. He hasn't gotten a lot of snaps um, when he's played. He's a lower. It gets even less, I think, when Boyd's active. I think he plays even less. Um, so that was a 6th round pick, and it's like, yeah, you needed the depth and all that, but I don't know. Boyd was a 6th round pick this year, and I, kind of, I don't know. Maybe to me seems like a coin flip because they both can make some nice plays, but a lot of times they're in there taking snaps, and you don't realize they are till they like huddle up, and you go, "Oh, holy crap! Ridgway's been in on this drive. Hadn't even noticed." Same thing with Boyd, and again, hopefully the new attitude of this team. Maybe spark a fire in some of these guys, and you will see that because he's one I'm specifically thinking of. He had one stop on the near goal line stance, but then Robinson scored on 4th down. Um, he got in there, did his job in the run game, got in there on Algier and helped clog that up. And I don't think he made the tackle, but he was the guy that beat a block that set the whole chain and motions and events in motion, I should say. And then he gets the hand up to block it. And I don't know how many snaps he had. I know it was more than those two, but I mean, those particular two, he did his job and did it well. So I and I know the bye week's coming up, week 12. So you kind of have Cleveland, I believe, is where we're going next. Feel like it's a fast week. It's a fast paced week. Rizzy kind of getting the job Monday and then being proactive and often wonder with the changes and all, if this is something that I really do wonder if this was something that maybe the coaches talked about and even brought up to DA or something, and it never got done or what as typical with DA talk about stuff but never actually do anything about it. But implemented that, got the guys in because they were off till Wednesday, got them in Wednesday. We're talking about how hard they practice, is intense, like fast paced. You come out with this win. Now you're kind of getting to more of a normal routine starting now. You get the bye, and then it's going to be all normal routine after. I'm really interested to see how the team's going to respond during those periods. Is this a more adrenaline based fuel type game? And then you kind of get back to the norm. What's going to happen? Hopefully, you won't go back in any way, shape, or form to pre this week, but you'll keep kind of continuing the trend because I do think that's important. I think it's incredibly important. We've got a chance to develop some young guys. Got a chance to kind of instill the culture that we need to into the back into the team and that fight and passion. I really do want to see that the rest of the season. He I had a Foskey sighting. I got to think of when it was. It was not during an actual. Oh, I know what it was. It was after the blocked field goal when they were showing the replay of Rizzy kind of losing his mind on the sideline because we blocked the field goal. And when the team was coming off the field, he was kind of set. Foskey was one. I saw his nameplate coming off, so I saw him once. I don't know anything beyond that. I assume he was on all the field goal block teams, but I don't know that for sure. But caught him once. Yeah, I thought it was Cleveland this week before the bye. I couldn't remember if they're the first one before or after, but um, yeah, I'm sure he's got a little spice in him a little bit. But I think he's another guy too that was given an opportunity. Um, he was such a lightning rod when he was here. I think a lot of opinions were made about him one way or the other, whether it was pro or con, while he was still sitting on the bench not playing. In retrospect, I felt like you kind of got the same guy you had in Tampa, just not as because he really didn't turn the ball over the few starts where they kind of um, that he had with the Saints. He not nearly as bad as at Tampa anyway, but it was almost like they were throttling him back a little bit, and he wasn't that gunslinging guy he was in Tampa Bay either. With all the so, my opinion on him it was what it was while he was here. Not maybe he got a fair shake, maybe he didn't. I don't really know, but I think third time around, he's looking to catch that. Speaking of lightning in the bottle, think of the last few years: Geno Smith, Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold. Up until today, my God, he looked awful. He threw 3 picks in the red zone. Minnesota won that game basically by a miracle. But these guys who were basically in Winston's boat, former first rounders, highly touted, blah blah blah, basically not brought back off their rookie contract by their team. But in Smith and in Mayfield's case, they went. I can't remember Smith went. I think he went the backup route a little bit before Seattle brought him in. He ends up becoming a starter and a pretty good one. And then Mayfield, of course, had the cup of coffee with the Rams and Sean McVay. I guess just a couple of weeks with him can cure a lot of a quarterback's problems. Then winds up in Tampa and then turning into, like, I don't know if they're ever going to be what everybody thought they were going to be when they were drafted in the first round, but they're recovering their careers. Winston coming in for my God, Deshaun Watson was so horrible as a quarterback. That's why people were saying Carr's the worst quarterback in the league. My response was always, have you watched Deshaun Watson play lately? So he's given kind of that opportunity too. So I'm just interested to see if he could be just another one of those guys that went, you know, had my shot. It didn't work out. Went to another team. Didn't really work out. Didn't happen much. Go to the third team, and then all of a sudden, hey, got something here. First game he played when he came in relief for Watson, it looked like he did last week, not so much. So really interested to see how it's going to turn out against us. One thing we didn't talk about, I'm surprised nobody asked. I was kind of waiting for it. Nothing brought up about Mickey and all this, because I thought for sure somebody was going to some comment. Okay, we got the interim head coach to kind of get the team on the field turnaround. Can we bring in the interim GM to start working on the salary and the upcoming draft, where we're probably going to still have some pretty good picks? Start working on fixing those issues we've had over the years and get that going. That was even while I'm watching this game, but mostly right after I watched it, that's what I had been thinking. Going, I don't know if you want fight and passion in the front office, but hell, you might need it. But what I don't need, and it's no secret, Northern makes fun of me all the time about me and Mickey not on speaking terms. No, we haven't had a good relationship in years. But everything you gain right now through this last stretch run of the season, and I can't help myself. We're going to look beyond the results right here, but not really. Still want to win games because you play to win the games, and I think you need to. What you saw today, you need to keep building on and pushing that forward. But at the same time, for one reason or another, whether it's based on talent or bad contracts and underperforming them, or any of another reasons, this roster needs to get thinned out, changed, retooled. Probably going to take 2 years to get most of it done. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again, it needs to start happening now. But more to the point, decisions have to be made on, and this is where I can't trust Mickey right now. So you may have to make some tough decisions on some guys you don't want to make decisions on purely based on the money. And you may have to make some tough decisions about trying to extend some guys to get the money to work, even though you may not. I don't want to say you want to, but you're trying not to because you're trying to get your salary cap under control. But in a weird sort of way, you might have to play a little bit of the kick the can down the road with 2 or 3 contracts and start thinking now what your future is going to look like in your roster starting in 2025, because it wouldn't probably not happen this year. It would be in 2025 when you're trying to shave some find some cap space and reworking some guys. Make sure you pick the right 2 or 3 that you've now basically decided they're going to be here for, they have 2 years left on their deal. We're going to restructure, rework it, extend it, whatever. And we're going to add to 4 years. Don't overpay them and make sure it's the right guys that you want to keep in the organization while you're shuffling the rest of your roster around. So these thoughts are going through my mind after the game, and I just keep going back to, I just don't trust Mickey to do any of that stuff. I don't know if he wants to do it. And based on last week, his comments and I felt, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but if he felt like a child pouting that, his best friend moved away and whatever. But, with last video talked about the Albert Breer article, basically that it sounded like he didn't want to make the move at all. And this Gale finally stepped forward and said, no, we're making the move and we're doing it now. So I think the rebuild, the revamp, or whatever you want to call it, the recent, it doesn't stop at interim, making Rizzi the interim coach. It's really need to make some hard decisions on our front office, and either they get on board with the plan, or somebody else has to come in and get on board with the plan. I mean, like I said, you stop and think about it. We really didn't have any business winning that game, yet we did. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. All those teams, though, the 3 you bringing up there are kind of in the same boat we are, which is, Giants dropped one to Carolina this morning in Germany or wherever the hell they were. So I almost feel like these are all coin flips. Like it's almost as much about what's going on with the teams in the locker room, if that makes sense. Because all these teams are going through basically some rough crap times right now. So, and fortune is fickle, basically, when it comes to stuff like this. A couple of bad things happen after I mean, it's only one game. We lost 7 in a row. It's only one game. Something happens. Can we recover? Can we keep that fight and that passion going? Or any of these teams are going to find it some kind of way. Our coaches here are going to start. I doubt Vegas, but any coaches here are going to get dumped, and you get that same, let's call it the Rizzi effect. We're going to roll in and play Cleveland. Well, Stefanski, I think, is their head coach now. He gets dumped tomorrow. Some coach that everybody says, hey, he should be the interim head coach comes in. The players jump on board, and suddenly we're playing basically a version of ourselves next week in Cleveland. Hard to say. On paper, like when Big Dealey, I was answering his question, though, I think you're going to find, and there's some likely candidates right here, 2, maybe 3 more wins this season. Again, because just a lot of those teams in their same boat. The 2 I'd be shocked if we could pull a win off, like I said, is the Rams and whatever the hell Washington's calling themselves these days. We're going to need a lot more than we had today and a lot more luck, I think, to beat either one of those 2. And to be perfectly honest with you, our struggles with mobile quarterbacks who can throw the ball downfield, if it ain't fixed by the time we play the Commanders, there ain't no chance, because Daniels is going to kill us. I think so, Big V. I mean, Part of me is wondering why it hadn't been done yet. Now the trade deadline's over with, so what's really going to go on there? Is he going to get on board? Is he going to? Because look, I'm gonna tell you the biggest. Here's my biggest fear. I wasn't not gonna do this because it's such a, but we're kind of touching on it a little bit. My biggest fear that we have a swimmingly successful last run with Rizzi. Now that's not my fear. That's what I'm hoping happens. My fear is that if that happens, the result is going to be people are going to be convinced that Mickey was right. We need to keep doing things the way we need to keep doing them, and keep looking beyond the results or whatever the shit he's going to say. Um, and being emboldened and going, well, because look, these are the right players we had here to make any type of serious run. We look, McCoy's a big one, and it looks like he's on the verge of coming back. And then may be the tipping point where our running game can really reestablish itself, and some things are going to happen after that. So all these fall into, let's say, place. You run off, you win 7 games total on the season. You manage to find 4 more wins out of this back end. I'm deathly afraid. My biggest fear is Mickey's going to come out in his January press conference, go, well, we're going to roll it back. And Rizzi's going to be the head coach. Now, I don't necessarily have a problem if Rizzi is named the head coach, but I don't want Rizzi being named the head coach because Mickey wants to keep doing what we've been doing all along because he is convinced, and I still think he is convinced based on kind of his pouting last week, that he's convinced, I'm right, y'all are wrong, this is going to work. We just need time for it to work right. So I would prefer this, so I don't have to deal with that big fear, regardless of how all this shakes out and how it's going to go moving forward. Mickey's not around to be involved in the decision. I don't think he's earned the right to be here anymore. I've long since thought that, but especially now. Um, I'm also going to say this. I think anytime you have significant changes like we're going through, you keep somebody from the old regimes like a GM around. He's still got that's the my guy mentality. I picked that guy. He's my guy. We need to give him more time, whatever. And you've got coaching or personnel people or whatever in the front office coming, analytics people coming in, whatever changes you're going to make going. No, he's got to go. And then you kind of feel like you're right back where we are now. So, um, all that to say, I hope you're 100% right. I really, really do. It's time for you don't have to fire Mickey. It's just time for him to go do something else in the organization that's not that importantly related to football operations. Um, I don't know if any of them are unbeatable. Uh, Rams, Rams are the Rams. Think back to what they did to us last year. If they just do what they do. Washington is a very good team. That is a after Houston last year. Um, Washington's another example of a team who changes fortunes around pretty quick with a little bit of luck. Um, Being able to get up there and grab a quarterback where you say, okay, all you other quarterbacks leave because you're done, and we're going to start the day we draft him, building our whole organizational future around this guy being the starter, and he's going to be the day one starter. So, you know, drafts April 30th, come May 1st, everybody in the organization, that's the starter. So we've got to get the team around him to be in a position where he can succeed. And I think they did a good job of it because while they were doing that, they changed a large portion of their roster over for the better, especially on defense. Um, so yeah, I don't think we got much of a shot at Washington. Green Bay is such an anomaly, but I think they're a better team than we are. Tampa, if they don't get wide receivers back, they're kind of us um, in a lot of ways. And, you know, they've been on a little bit of the struggle bus lately and they lost again today. So, in fact, I think we're only a game behind them right now. Or as Big V said, none of them. Um, like I said, I have Rams and Washington. I don't think we can come out with wins for sure. Uh, no, not a chance in hell, Ken. Yeah, and look, 20 years, 21 years is a long time for any GM. And it's been done. There's been some long time GMs, but I think most of them have realized as the game evolves, so must I. And I think the biggest Mickey's is, in my mind, Mickey's is his own biggest detractor because um and Catherine Terrell, I mean, 2 weeks ago had the whole when he dropped 3 weeks ago, whatever it was, when he came on radio and said, good organization looks beyond the results. And she went through from basically one of his first press conferences. I think it was back in 2004, right after he got hired. He had a similar phrase, and she just kept pulling through the years, saying the same thing over and over. Well, that's real close to doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I think if he was, and I don't think he's dumb by any stretch of the imagination. I think he's arrogant, and it's just unwillingness that he's going to say, you know what, I was wrong. We probably should have started the rebuild in 2021. We should have brought in a completely different offense, more in line with the rest of the league is doing. And the reason why they're all trying to do it is because A, it works, and B, because the players coming out of college, most of them are closer scheme fits to what those Shanahans and Ben Johnsons and even, well, I'll hold this one till last, and McVays are doing, and Andy Reid, who, as an anomaly to the rule, has constantly changed his offense in Kansas City he's been very, I mean, this ain't the same stuff he was running in Philly. It ain't the same stuff he was running when he had Alex Smith as a starting quarterback. And it's right now, currently, it's not the same stuff he was running when Mahomes first showed up. That he's constantly evolving that because he wants to win games. That's ultimately what it's all about. So you look at a guy like Mickey just going, the phrase stuck on stupid comes to mind, but I don't really think he's stupid. But I think he is incredibly stubborn. Um, I'm not sure about Randy Mueller. Um, A, because that ended so badly. B, because there was some stuff going on. Um, part of which was no doubt, according to what Mr. Benson was saying, disobeying him, which you don't do that to your owner. So, eh, but yeah, yeah, Finks was the best GM we ever had, and that was just an extreme short period of time. But the way he built the team, whew, man, especially the defensive side. If the offense ever would have caught up, we'd have won our Super Bowl 20 years uh, before we actually ended up winning our Lombardi. And that's going to be a conversation they need to decide. I tried today, this morning, to solve the cap issues. I don't know why. I guess because I wanted a migraine before the game started. But he's a big part of it. He has the biggest contract with the most dead money that's going to really pound us next year. So there's really, as far as I can see it, to get cap compliant and do what you need to do, there's really only two options with him. You have to do another restructure, whatever you want to call it. So you're going to give them 2025 and probably throw some money to 2026 to offset it. Or you decide you're cutting bait with him right now. He's going to be a post June 1st designation cut. You're going to take a big hit and spread it out between 2025 and 2026, which you've cleared some cap space with the Lattimore trade that would allow you to do that. But thing is right now we're projected, and projected is the key word because people keep saying we're 62 million over the cap. Projected. They're projecting the cap to go up 20 mil. Right off the bat, I feel like that's low. Um, a 10% increase would make it a 2.57 million increase, would put the cap somewhere around 282, just as an example. So it's not technically a real number yet. But regardless, Carr is your biggest handicap in dealing with all this. And this is my impression about what's going on. Um, and why you need to decide now what you're going to do. And you may not need to make the decision specifically this minute, but it's got to be at the topic of your conversations, because now granted this is only week 10, 11 college. I think they start a week early, somewhere around week 11. So you got some games left to go, plus playoffs and bowl games and whatever else, and then the combine and pro days and all that stuff. But last week, PFF came out with an article, and it was just a brief, like where we're at type thing on positions of draft eligible college players. Interior offensive linemen, linebackers, and quarterbacks, they all had as below average, which they basically said when they were talking about quarterbacks, Cam Ward is probably likely going to be the first pick taken. But the next set of names right now, nobody's really separating themselves as one of these guys you'd want to take up there. So that's important because we should be up there somewhere, but not likely high enough to take Cam Ward if in fact Cam Ward is the guy. And they don't even sound too sure about that. Now, like I said, lot more to go, and this may get settled where by the end of the season, and then when they do all their stuff in the offseason, getting prepped for the draft, everybody has a better idea of who those guys could be. And then if you have a shot at one of them, so if you're going to draft one of them, then you're almost setting up to cut Carr with a post June 1st designation, which means you got to chop a lot of. It's a big giant jigsaw puzzle they have to figure out, and it's all going to start with, I think, almost with Carr, is what's the plan A and the plan B. And that's not even thinking about if somebody decides, you know what, we really, again, if we decide Rattler's going to, or Hayner, whatever which one, is going to be our starter next year, treat him just like you would, like Houston did with Stroud, and then Washington did with Daniels this year. And Chicago's trying. It's just not working out for them like it was with the other two, but just we're starting right now that guy is going to be our starter. So we're going to do everything in our power to build the team around him to give him the best possible chance to succeed as a rookie so we can keep developing and turning him into the next fill in a blank of your favorite, most awesome quarterback. Brady, if you want, Peyton Manning, Drew Brees, doesn't matter. One of those type guys. Patrick Mahomes. So, it, I mean, I guess technically you could wait till the end of the season, but you'd probably be better off trying to figure some of that stuff up, figuring some of that stuff now instead of later. What, with Carr? I'm assuming you're asking. Personally, this is the way I look at it. And he's another one that's lightning rod this offseason. There's a lot of people saying, oh man, he's a great quarterback. He just always had, and the things they were saying, it was true in the sense that, yes, he had many head coaches and offensive coordinator, was constantly learning new offenses, played on some very bad teams where the O-line wasn't good and the defensive line wasn't good. And if you get him on a team where all that stuff's fixed, then he'd be better. Now, I feel like you can say that about most quarterbacks. Um, But the thing is, if that's the caveat, you're going to need to get the best Derek Carr you need. Everything I just said is not likely going to exist on the Saints for the next year or two unless they get really lucky in this whole extremely lucky in this rebuild. So under that own pretext, if you think he's a good quarterback, which those are all the caveats you need for him to be the guy. Well, now you're waiting around another year, possibly two, before you got all the stuff around him for him to be the guy. And one of the reasons why you can't bring in some stuff to help him be the guy is he has too much of a chunk of your salary. So it's 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 just counterproductive. It's going to be real hard to work it out. So in that sense, if you're going to rebuild, you're going to rebuild, and you're probably going to try to do it around a quarterback if you can. But if you can't, because you're not picking high enough to get one of these, or you're looking at these college guys coming out next year in college going, I don't know if I want to waste first round pick on it. Well, then you're looking at, we need some help on the offensive line. We need some help on the defensive line. We're probably going to need some help at wide receiver because rolling into the season with just two guys is not a good idea. Um, Again, you kind of rolled through some guys you thought were going to do something, and then you finally got to MVS, and at least for one game, he was the guy. So, but you might have to add something there. So, it to me, it becomes very difficult um, to rebuild and all that stuff that you want to do and reset the salary cap by keeping Carr around for basically would probably be another 2 years because, like I said, you'd have to restructure him as opposed to just moving on for him as fast as we can. Basically, what the Raiders did: take the hit. It's probably going to suck for a year, but then we have draft picks. The Bowers is going to be a good player for them, obviously, with their first round of last year. They got to find a quarterback, and then that's got to be first in their agenda. But if they can't feel like they can't draft one, they've got money available because they did all this and moved Carr to us, basically. They have money available as a free agent or disgruntled quarterback that wants out into a new, like we've seen that over the last few years. They now have the ability to do it. So if you can move Carr's contract out like they did, create that space, get some draft capital. If you can't get a quarterback, then bring in a top player, Brock Bowers or whoever it is, until you can get to the point where you can go get your quarterback. Just do it. Just do it smartly and make sure you're bringing in the guy that you need to bring in. Yeah, I figured. I've always said I think they're pretty much the same guy. I think there's a lot in their area that's the same guy. And what I mean by the same guy is from week to week, you get what you get. Um, you're going to get some good play out of him. You're going to get some bad play out of him. It's I think what matters is what you get in the middle. So very good play, very not good play. We know what's going to happen if you're a start quarterback when those two things happen. So when you get kind of to the middle, those days where you're struggling a little bit, but can you make a couple of really big time throws and key moments to get you the win? Or when you're playing above average, can you just keep it rolling and not? So I think both of them tend to do this. And I think at times you saw them both of them do it today. Like they're almost trying to jumpstart themselves and they're trying to make the big throw when it isn't there. Neither one of them got in trouble with it, but you know, late in the game, because it's taking checkdowns, was doing it earlier. They were doing a lot of screens, they were doing a lot of short passes, and then hit some throws downfield. Then they start looking at them, they've got some success, and then the defense makes some changes and they're still looking for those deep throws. And then all of a sudden the offense isn't running and that sort of thing. And can they work through that and get you back to where you need to be, where you're moving the ball and you're scoring points? We get spoiled because we had Drew and he never really did that. And you look around the league at the guys at that level. If you look at a Peyton Manning, if you look at a Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes can be a little iffy, but sometimes I think he just is like, screw it. I just want to zing one down there and see if I can get it in there. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. But for the most part, he and Andy Reid have realized what defenses are doing now to prevent that, and so I'll take the check downs. We'll design the offense with 4 tight ends on the field at one time and still throw the ball, whatever it is. Um, so I think that tier of quarterback where I am talking about, in my opinion anyway, Cousins and Carr and various quarterbacks around the league right at that. I think I'd put Jared Goff in that category, to be honest with you. Guys like that. You get what you get. And I think Goff is a great example of, with an offensive coordinator and all the stuff those type of quarterbacks need around him, Detroit's built it, and Goff's turning into I don't think turning into, he's just able to be the better version of himself than when he was dealing with some of the other stuff he was dealing with when he first showed up in Detroit. That was my answer. They're the same guy, just different names on the back of their jersey. Yeah, and it worked. And he is again, because apparently Bo Nix still hasn't solved his accuracy and other issues of throwing the ball down the field, at least on a consistent basis, because that's kind of what he was throughout his college career. So, yeah, throw the ball behind the line if you can do it. And one of the things that it has gotten us in trouble this year is a lack of a good, competent either screen game or quick throwing game. In fact, there was a couple times today where you saw Atlanta kick bubble screen or whatever you want to call it, where they're just kicking that quick pass out almost as soon as the quarterback takes a snap, he's throwing it type thing to a receiver wide where the other receivers were blocking. Atlanta a couple times had some pretty decent plays out of it. We had the great initial play basically with Taysom that got called back from the holding penalty, but as the game progressed, we didn't do it as well as they did. But eventually both teams kind of abandoned it almost. And that was right about the time there was that stretch. They weren't, they were looking to push the ball downfield because I think they both had success in it. And then they were trying to do it. Now, the thing with Cousins is he hit a few, he missed a few, a couple of them badly, but he hit a few. So, yeah, it is what it is. So, looking on time, yeah, it's getting to be about that time. So, I will say this: we have so many issues going on this team as far as the roster that there's now. Rizzi kind of alluded to this, some game day roster management stuff when he was talking. So players get a little more healthy. Maybe this will change. One of my gripes is Kool-Aid for weeks being active and getting 4 snaps on special teams and not being out there. And so I think as far as our roster is concerned, some of those guys are there. Well, they're going to have an opportunity to play now due to injury, but when they get healthy, but there's guys that we know can play that this is the opportunity to get them on the field, and let's start developing them more. And some guys, is not going to be here, so why are they here? There seems to be this attitude of, and I don't know where this came from, but they were talking about it on the broadcast today. For instance, the receivers, and Austin being one of them, where veterans are going to Rizzi and going, that Austin kid really ought to be on the active roster. We really should have him up here and throwing him the ball. And why the decision was made to never pull him up when you were struggling to find receivers with all the so that shit's got to stop. So again, it's just kind of not to sound like a broken record, but it's getting to be like a broken record going, Give these guys opportunities and figure out who you want to keep going forward and who's you don't have a chance you can move on from. Because the thing is, the Austins of the world, or the Bub Means, or the Tiptons, if you're talking about wide receivers, or the Rico Paytons in corner, and so on down the list, because of the cap issues and where you're trying to shave money and everything else, guess what? You're gonna have a bunch of those on the roster because they're cheap. If you already got some and you figure you can make them better, get them on the field, see if you can make them better. Or if you know you can't, then I'm gonna have to dump that guy because it's another thing. They're cheap, and go find me another one that I think can be better and can get on the field and help us win. Oh, forgot where we are. Ah, there we go. Yeah, T Dirty. Who dat for life? Yeah, definitely. Especially when we're beating the Dirty Birds. Um, I mean, it's they get him targets when they can get him targets, but again, Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, they got a lot of options out there. I mean, they threw for a piss pot full of yards. I know. I think London went over 100. Mooney was up around 60 or 70 to point. They were getting 10 and 20-yard plays from those guys. So, you know, excuse me. Probably a couple of weeks ago when Pitts went off with the insanity of from was it 90 and 2 touchdowns or something like that about 3 weeks ago. You could there were probably people going on, why London didn't get the ball or Mooney didn't get the ball. Them's the breaks when you got a bunch of guys like that that can go downfield and make plays like that. Well, yeah, I'm more emotional when we lose because I'm furiously pissed, um, especially a lot of times in the way we were losing. Um, and that smoldering anger tends to stay around longer than elation. Um, Now, however, if you'd have been with me in Miami when we won the Super Bowl in 2010, you would have seen emotion that by far shatters anything you've seen from me when it was hell, I was floating out the stadium that night all the way through the parking lot to the car. So look, is what it is right now. But yeah, I can be um my anger can stay with me for quite a while compared to the hey, we beat the Dirty Birds. Now, if we beat the Dirty Birds and like the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl, then yeah, you'll probably see an emotional response of joy equal to the festivity you see when we do some of the shit we did the last couple of weeks. Oh, did they? I was actually watching that game till we came on, and I meant to put it on my other monitor so I could watch while we were talking, and I forgot to do it. And then I realized the game's probably over. So, um, did and I don't. Houston's an interesting. God, I don't remember who I was talking about this with the other day, but I think it was a sports count. I think it was a brother-in-law, but kind of felt like they may have jumped the gun a little bit with the all-in theory, after the, good first season last year, the way they did everything right, and then kinda that I think getting Mixon was a good move for them. They needed that better running game, but then, like, going all in with Diggs, you had some good young receivers there who were playing well with Stroud, so it was like, it's just a little weird. The Diggs head didn't really help him, then he got hurt, so, I'm like, I don't I think they're like that team that was getting better and closer to the point where you might want to think about going all in. It might have done it a year or two too early, but I like what they're doing there. Man, if you're going to hire defense coordinator as a head coach, in my opinion, D'Amico Ryans was a slam dunk great hire, and you know Bobby Slowick obviously proved himself last year. But the more I hear about that guy, I was like, he could be the next rising star in the coaching ranks as far as like becoming a head coach. Um, Not really, not right now. I will say this: my biggest fear about Cleveland is Nick Chubb being fully healthy and they committing themselves to hand him the ball about 25 times because we don't defend the run well, we don't tackle well, and a couple of times we've run into playing against Nick Chubb. Um, if they'd have decided to give him the ball 25, 30 times a game, they would have never had to throw it, and they still would have beat us anyway. Nick Chubb scares the living bejesus out of me if both those knees are healthy, and he's back and he's playing. So if he's anywhere near his former self, there's issues. And if you get Winston, any capable of throwing the ball at all, who knows what's going to happen there? But huh, yeah, you got a tape, and I think even though now I know the score, I'm probably going to go back and watch rest of the third into the fourth quarter there. Um, I do like the way both those teams are run, organizational and down. I like their head coaches. I like their coordinators. And there's a chance we will be throwing job offers at some of those coordinators. Um, good, good balance. Detroit, kind of veteran and young, developing young guys. Houston, I think we're trying to do that again, bringing in Mixon. I think that was a good move, Diggs. A little, but defensively, they have been doing that the last 2 years, drafting some young guys to play, but bringing in some old vets behind them. I think they have a truly good idea. Both of them do now. Um, in the modern NFL, how you kind of want to build your organization and how you want to do it. And uh, Washington, we talked about them earlier. I think they're trying to do the same thing. So hopefully, we're taking good notes on all that. Yeah, it was somewhere in the fourth. Um, because Twitter is in front of the game when I'm watching it, so I have to like wait for a break, a commercial break or something, and go check because that's where they'll know and they'll start posting. Werner went to the which they did. Werner went to the blue tent, and a little while later, came back reported it was a hand. He was questionable return. As far as I know, he did not come back, so he missed a Gay, I want to say the last 2 series was on the field. He wasn't out there, so but it might have possibly been before that you know, and like I said, I didn't notice. I was just checking up during a commercial break or whatever to see because they provide information like that. Howden was, in might have been the first quarter or early in the second, shoulder, went to the locker room, didn't come back, and left the game, never came back. Um I just want a guy who can lead a team, coach them, get the best out of his staff, best out of his players, have a plan, hold people accountable, instill discipline, make the team, um, or earn, I should say, not make, earn the team's respect. A lot like this team, Rizzi, because there's no doubt saw some of the post game not only comments but some of the stuff in the locker room. It's like you can tell You can tell his respect level is up here where DA's was down here somewhere as far as the team was concerned. So before you get to the X's and O's, there's so much the process, trust the problem, whatever you want to say. There's so much that goes into it that if you don't do any of that stuff, you could be the most brilliant offensive coordinator ever in the world and head coach a team and not be successful. Now, if you can find me an offensive head coach that can do all that stuff, a la like Sean did, I got no issues with that. Yep. Before we go, because it is getting a little late here. Um, 2 things, actually 3 things. Uh, One, I'm gonna start tagging some merch here. So, real soon, I will have some merch on for sale. In the comments, some people have asked about this shirt that I've worn a couple times. It'll be in the merchandise store. I'll have that up. Also, and again, big thank you to everyone that helped me get to 500 subscribers and the watch hours to do this. I'm still trying to figure out how to turn some of that stuff on. We'll be doing that. So I'll have a membership hopefully by the end of the week with all the perks lined up in it. One of them is, and this is the one that's killing me, trying to get I have a Discord server set up, trying to get it to communicate with YouTube. So my channel will be um, added to the Discord server where members can come in and have a forum. Um, Instead of having to ban around on the comments, we basically have our own live chat room there, among other things. So hopefully by the end of the week, that will also be turned on. Just waiting on me to figure it out. And the third thing is, I will try to start doing some more live shows. I like doing them. Some people have mentioned that scheduling wise, it wasn't always easy, but I will try, and try is the key word here until I know for sure I can do it. We'll probably likely try to start scheduling one on Wednesdays, um, likely Wednesday afternoon. So make sure, please, like, share, subscribe with the notification. So, but once I can kind of figure out the schedule, much like this, want to kind of keep doing it at the same time so we get together. Kind of think Wednesday's the middle of the week is a good spot to do it in. So talk about some of the current stuff, but I think a lot of the conversation is going to be, you know, you have the post game, the stuff that's going on in the week leading up into the next game, but also more conversations like we were having a large part of tonight. The future of the organization and decisions being made. How is that going to work out? Because that's going to be a big part of that of what they're doing. You want to repair the culture. You want to win games. You want to get rid of that losing attitude, but at the same time, looking forward, you're realizing changes are going to have to be made. Decisions are going to have to be made, and I think it's a good conversation for us to sit down and have when we can. So, going to try for this Wednesday afternoonish is what I'm shooting for. See if we can find a time and try to make it a normal, Wednesday afternoon coffee clutch type thing. If that'll work for everyone. So let me double check. I think that's everything tonight that we got. Comment wise, want to thank y'all for joining us again. I am very glad we beat the Dirty Birds. That just it's gonna make my week go better because yeah, to Northern's point, the day that we lost to the Dirty Birds in Atlanta, yes, seriously aggravated about how it happened, but also who it happened to made it even worse. So yeah, they didn't sweep us. Woohoo. Um, so Cleveland coming up. We maybe get it set up Wednesday afternoon. We can talk a little bit about what's going to go on in that game. Bye week after that. So hopefully we go to bye 4-7. I think that's going to be a overall good thing because that back into that schedule we're talking about where there may be some trouble games coming up after that. And the bye week will also give us an opportunity to kind of maybe really delve into what the future is looking like at that point. So we'll have the week off to discuss it. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody. 20-17, I'd have preferred 40-17, but I'll take my 20-17. Dirty Birds, we're done with them for the year. Getting ready for Cleveland. Going to see y'all. Trying really hard for Wednesday afternoon for our live stream. Hope to see you there. If you're first time here, please go ahead and hit the subscribe for me and make sure you hit the notification so you can join us too. So until next time I see you, I'm Tim. Peace out and who dat.